The concept of Noah's Ark traditionally draws from the biblical narrative found in the book of Genesis, where Noah is instructed by God to build a massive vessel to save his family and two of every kind of animal from a worldwide flood. This narrative has permeated various cultures and religions, symbolizing divine intervention and human obedience. Setting the context of Noah's Ark involves understanding its place in religious history, mythology, and its presence in various cultural texts. This contextual foundation is vital for exploring the dichotomy between myth and archaeological evidence. The significance of the Ark in relation to the topic at hand lies in its symbolic and historical weight. As a cornerstone narrative within the Abrahamic religions, Noah's Ark has influenced theological discussions, artistic expressions, and moral teachings across millennia. Understanding this narrative is essential for dissecting how myths endure, adapt, and manifest in modern cultural and scientific investigations. One illustrative example is the numerous expeditions to Mount Ararat in Turkey, believed by some to be the Ark's resting place. These missions highlight the compelling intersection between faith and scientific inquiry. While geological examinations have yet to yield definitive evidence of the Ark, these expeditions underscore the human drive to substantiate ancient texts through empirical means. Another example lies in the field of geomythology, where scientists and scholars explore geological events, such as significant ancient floods, which could have inspired such enduring tales. This real-world connection between myth and science invites audiences to consider how folklore might encode historical truths. Opinions supporting the relevance of Noah's Ark often cite its moral and ethical teachings lessons of stewardship, obedience, and the consequences of moral decay that continue to resonate across societies. However, challenges arise in reconciling the miraculous elements of the story with natural laws, often leading to controversies between fundamental interpretations and scientific skepticism. This setting the context operates as a linchpin for unraveling the broader discussion of myths versus archaeological evidence. As we explore questions of historical validity and mythological symbolism, this foundational understanding of Noah's Ark influences our approach to evaluations, shaping subsequent inquiries about the veracity of other ancient narratives. This balance between respecting cultural heritage and pursuing factual accuracy remains a central theme throughout the exploration of myths and evidence. Understanding the lore around Noah's Ark grounds the audience, offering them a familiar landmark as they traverse through the complex landscape of myth, history, and science. The historical and cultural significance of Noah's Ark is a multifaceted concept intertwined with religious, historical, and archaeological narratives. Noah's Ark, as described in biblical texts, is a vessel that saved a pair of every living creature and Noah's family from a global flood, becoming a symbol of divine salvation and covenant. This narrative, found in the book of Genesis, holds profound significance for several major world religions, including Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, where it is often seen as a metaphor for faith, obedience, and divine mercy. The importance of understanding the historical and cultural significance of Noah's Ark in the context of myths versus archaeological evidence lies in unraveling how ancient stories shape cultural identity and inform our understanding of historical events. In contemporary times, the Ark is more than a religious symbol. It represents a bridge between myth and fact, prompting both believers and skeptics to explore evidence of its existence and the potential factual basis behind these ancient writings. One real-world example of this exploration is the search for physical evidence of the Ark's existence on Mount Ararat in Turkey, a location traditionally linked to the Ark's final resting place. Numerous expeditions over the years have sought to uncover remnants or provide satellite imagery that could substantiate these claims. Additionally, the replication of Noah's Ark, such as the full-scale constructions in Kentucky and the Netherlands, serves to stimulate interest and educate the public about this ancient story and its significance across cultures and religions. Supporters of the Ark's historical veracity argue that the widespread nature of flood myths across different cultures suggests a common historical event that these stories preserve and interpret. This viewpoint advocates for the continued investigation into geological and archaeological evidence as a means of uncovering possible real-world connections to the Noah narrative. However, there are significant challenges and controversies surrounding this topic. Critics often argue that no conclusive archaeological evidence has been found to support the historicity of Noah's Ark, and some propose that the Ark is purely allegorical, serving as a moral lesson rather than a historical account. These differing perspectives fuel ongoing debates about the intersection between myth and history. The cultural and historical exploration of Noah's Ark influences broader discussions on the transmission of myths, the interpretation of religious texts, and the nature of divine narratives within human history. It challenges us to consider how stories shape civilizations and connect to our shared human experience. Unlocking the secrets of Noah's Ark, myths versus archaeological evidence, delves into the intriguing intersection of ancient narratives and historical inquiry. The heading, Mythological Interpretations Across Different Cultures, refers to the diverse ways various cultures have interpreted and retold the story of Noah's Ark or similar flood myths. These interpretations often reflect a culture's unique religious, societal, and environmental contexts, offering insight into human attempts to explain natural phenomena and moral imperatives. This point is significant because it helps to frame the Noah's Ark narrative not as a singular legend, but as part of a broader tapestry of flood myths worldwide, each with its own symbolic meanings and historical implications. One prime example is the Epic of Gilgamesh from ancient Mesopotamia, which predates the biblical account and includes a flood story remarkably similar to that of Noah's Ark. In this tale, the gods decide to send a flood to destroy humanity, but choose a righteous man, Utnapishtim, to survive by building a large boat. Another example is the Hindu myth of Manu, who is warned by a fish about a great flood and instructed to build a boat. These stories from disparate cultures reflect common themes of divine retribution, human morality, and survival, revealing a shared cultural motif that transcends geographical boundaries. Supporters of examining these myths highlight the importance of understanding them, not just as stories, but as crucial historical documents that offer insights into ancient human thought, societal priorities, and existential concerns. However, these mythological narratives also face challenges. Some scholars argue that the similarities are merely coincidental or the result of cultural exchanges rather than indicative of a singular historical event. Others highlight the difficulties in distinguishing myth from historical fact, especially when archaeological evidence is scant or ambiguous. This point connects intricately to other aspects of the main topic by providing a crucial lens through which to analyze archaeological evidence. While archaeology seeks tangible proof, mythological interpretations provide context and richness, turning fragments of potential evidence into living, breathing anecdotes of human history. This interplay between myth and archaeology raises alternative viewpoints about the validity of taking sacred scripts at face value without corroborating them with material evidence. In doing so, it bridges the gap between scientific inquiry and narrative tradition, inviting a more holistic understanding of history. Ultimately, by examining mythological interpretations across different cultures, we appreciate the diverse ways humans have sought to interpret their world and strive to unlock the secrets of history's most enduring legends. Archaeological expeditions and discoveries linked to Noah's Ark serve as a fascinating intersection between myth and tangible evidence, as researchers and adventurers venture into uncharted territories to unearth relics that could elucidate ancient narratives. The concept here involves organized searches and excavations aimed at finding physical remnants or compelling evidence that supports the biblical tale of Noah's Ark. This aspect is significant because it bridges the gap between storytelling and scientific inquiry, offering potential proof that could transform a widely debated myth into historical reality. To illustrate, consider the ambitious expeditions to Mount Ararat in Turkey, a site traditionally believed to harbor the Ark's remains. Over the years, various teams have claimed to have discovered large wooden structures buried under the ice that might be the remnants of the Ark. Another notable example is the Darupanar site, a large rock formation that some believe could be the Ark's fossilized remains. These expeditions are significant as they invite scientific scrutiny, provoke public interest, and keep the dialogues alive concerning one of humanity's oldest stories. Supporters argue that these searches are crucial for understanding early human history and religious traditions. Enthused by the prospect of discovering physical evidence, scientists and theologians alike are driven by the idea that such a discovery could revolutionize views on historical geology, climate models, and ancient narratives. However, these endeavors are not without challenges or controversies. Critics often argue that no conclusive evidence has yet been produced, and many supposed discoveries turn out to be natural formations rather than human-made artifacts. Additionally, alternative viewpoints suggest that the story of Noah's Ark is symbolic or allegorical, possibly an amalgamation of ancient flood myths rather than a singular historical event. Despite these controversies, the pursuit of archaeological evidence surrounding Noah's Ark influences the larger discourse on myths versus archaeological evidence. It challenges perceptions and compels a re-evaluation of what is deemed myth versus historical fact. It also shapes integrative approaches in the broader study of ancient histories, blending faith with empirical investigation. In essence, the expeditions and discoveries linked to Noah's Ark represent both a quest for historical verification and an ongoing debate about the boundaries of myth, evidence, and belief. This exploration captivates a wide audience, anchoring a timeless story within the realms of scientific and theological investigation.